So here we are with another episode of Life in Six Strings. Please subscribe to the channel. That would be amazing. Okay, so if my guest today had only been in just one of the bands he'd been in, you'd be impressed. But he's been in a number of successful bands from the likes of Foreigner, Dokken, Dio, Lynch Mob, and counting. He's a bass player, guitarist, writer, producer, singer, so all round, pretty talented guy. Please welcome Jeff Pilson. I always like to kind of start at the beginning with these interviews and sort of, I guess, sort of really like why music? Why did you decide that you wanted to, go on this path of being a professional musician?
Well, I know that the bug was planted as with many people when I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I was very little, but it made a huge impact on me. And there was enough music in the family that I could sing as a little kid. I could sing in tune and everything. And I remember we used to have a neighbor upstairs. He was probably, I'm guessing he was 15, maybe something like that, and he had an electric guitar, and he would have me come up. I was 6, and he would have me come up and sing Beatles songs while he got to play them. So I think I got a little bit of the bug then.
Yeah.
Um, so when it came time to learning, or being offered to to play some music, I took it up, and I don't regret a minute of it.
No, because here we are now. So what did you learn first then? Because you are, you're a multi-instrumentalist. You play a lot of instruments. So what one came first?
Well, the very first one actually was cello, and that was in fifth grade.
Mm.
Um, I didn't stay too terribly serious about cello for very long because the next year in sixth grade is when I started playing the bass guitar. I was basically asked to join a band as a singer, and they then said, "Well, hey, we need a bass player too. Do you want to play bass?" I said, "Sure." So, I had a paper out at the time, so I bought a bass and an amp, and that was my start. And eventually, after a little bit of time, I really fell in love with bass, and really a lot of it was when Chris Squire came along, when I became aware of Yes.
Okay.
That was what really rocked my world, and that's what really sent me into the heavy, going into the bedroom and just studying records and working hard at it, you know and that's when I knew I was going to do it for real.
What was it about Chris Squire that really stood out for you then?
I think it was the sound, a lot of it. The sound of the bass just sounded so otherworldly to me, and I was like, I got to do that. I can remember it clear as a bell. But a very good friend of mine, who's still a good friend of mine to this day. We were 15 years old, and I remember him playing me Roundabout, and I heard it, and I just immediately, up to then I was, I'd only been playing a few years, but I only played with my fingers, and thought that was how you play bass. And then when I heard Chris Squire, everything changed. It was the sound, it was the aggression of it, it was the uniqueness of it, the musicality of it. Everything about what he did just resonated with me.
It's funny because you kind of really influenced by these prog guys, the prog bands like you say Yes, and I know that some of your really early bands were more in the proggy vein, but then you kind of went into this more we call it AOR here, like or melodic rock. So to
Right, 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 right. Yeah, I mean, I think that was just a natural progression. I think as a younger player, the idea of playing a lot or playing complicated stuff and all that was very appealing to me, and
yeah.
I loved all that, as young kids do. Um, of course, I'm not a young kid anymore, and I still actually enjoy that. But then over time, I think you really start to come to really more appreciate things like groove and song, and so
Yeah.
I think it's a natural progression over time to get into that kind of thing.
So and then you play the guitar as well. So
I do. It kind of came along, for the
yeah.
ride. As I mean, I just started playing guitar probably to write more than anything.
So was it quite an easy, transition from learning the bass of the guitar then? Are they how do you are they very
You know,
similar?
funny, I don't have a lot of memory of the actual learning process of guitar. I just kind of did it, you know. So it was always, it was never done like, oh, you know, get out the metronome and practice guitar. It was never like that. It was always like learn chords, learn how to play this, and learn how to do rhythm, and then okay, now I'll learn to play some solo-y kind of stuff. And you know, it was never a concentrated study like the bass had been at one point. So even though I've been playing guitar now a very, very long time, you know, it started off just curiosity really, and because I knew I was getting involved in music, I knew music was going to be my living. So
Mm.
it was started to become important to me to pick up as many things as I could. And writing I knew was important.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So can you remember that moment when you first played in front of an audience and kind of how you felt?
Um First in front of an audience. Wow. Well, you know what's funny is I remember playing like high school dances and you know things like that when I was probably 14, 15, something like that. And that was kind of the start of it. But I do also remember a very good friend of mine who is, again, another, this is another one, but who is also still a really good friend of mine. He was older than I was. He worked at the music store in town, um, which I then eventually ended up working in a music store too. But he was a good friend and he was very supportive of me. And I think I was about 15 years old, and his band was playing the local college, and you know that was kind of the big gig in town. I lived in a fairly small town, and that was kind of the big gig. And they were playing a show, and he brought me up to play a couple songs. And you know, I mean, I was 15 years old, and uh, just a scraggly little long-haired kid that wanted to play bass, you know. And but
Yeah.
he brought me up, and that really stuck in my mind because that was like that was a taste of performing a notch above what I'd been used to, and the fact that it felt so good, I think, kind of pushed me down that path a little more.
Yeah, it's addictive, isn't it? That adrenaline
Oh
that
yeah,
you get. It's
oh yeah.
like, yeah.
You two are you a performer as well?
So no, I interview performers and have done that for many years, but I've always wanted to learn how to play the guitar, but never had the time.
Well, I see plenty of them back there.
Well, this is thanks to a pandemic. So I finally had the time. And then I was like, well, look, there's no work. I might as well set up this YouTube channel and chat to professional musicians about their life in music. And so
That's great.
mainly guitarists and some bass players have seeped through the net as well. It's not like, so the show is Life in Six Strings. It's now tonight. It's Life in Four Strings, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
So
10 if you want to take my 10-string bass, but
a 10 string bass. That sounds impressive.
sure.
So what bass do you play? You're with Fender. Your basses. Is that who you play with?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, I don't think I really endorsed by Fender because I play all old stuff. I mean, they've been very good to me over the years for various things,
Yeah.
but I'm not an official endorsee. I play mostly vintage instruments. With when I record, I have a 58p bass that I absolutely love that
Hmm.
I've had for 35 years that sounds wonderful. And I record a lot with that. I have another 58p bass that I will actually take out live because it's a hybrid. It's a 58 bass, neck and body, and 58 pickups, but it's bastardized other parts, and so I kind of threw that together myself. But that's a great sounding bass too for recording. And I have a 63p bass that I love to record with, and I have lots of others for other textures. And then live with Foreigner, I usually play I play a 73p bass that has 66 pickups on it, and those just seem to work great for me.
So are you not afraid of taking the vintage basses out on tour with you?
I am afraid of taking my 58s. I'm not afraid of taking 73s because it's a workhorse. I mean, I have what, three of them, I think. I have two 73s and a 71 that are my live axes. And I'm not afraid of taking those. They're built for speed, you know. I mean, they could handle a nuclear explosion, I believe. So, so I'm not afraid of taking those out. I would not take my 58. My 58's my baby.
Fair enough. Yeah, there's some that you just need to protect a little bit. So,
Mhm.
okay, so obviously, how many bases do you own?
Own?
Yeah.
Oh God, I would say it's got to be somewhere in the 30s. I know. I just the other day I counted, and there were 18 in this room alone. So, so then I have all my live stuff, all my stuff that's in foreigner storage, and then I have stuff in other parts of the house stored, and stuff out in the storage out back, and so I have a lot of bases.
So you mentioned foreigner. What's happened because I interviewed you and I think it was Tom at Rambling Man Fair. We were in your porter cabin
Oh,
backstage. You were
oh,
headlining, and you guys were telling me that
I don't remember
you wouldn't rule out, or there has been discussions about doing a new album.
that. Well, here's
with
what
with
I'll tell
new material, like with new
you.
material. I know you've
Yeah,
done
of
other
course.
things, but
Of course. Right, right. Well, here's what's going to happen. I don't really see a whole album of new material coming out anytime soon. Um, but we are working on some music. So I think that what's going to happen is on whatever other things we release in the next couple years, there will be some new songs added to it.
right.
So that's what I see kind of happening because we're working on a few that are, they're not that far away. So I would say, expect a package deal to have a couple new songs.
Okay, good. And what's your involvement in those songs? Are you writing, producing?
No, actually the songs, a couple of them were actually written by Mick like 20 some years ago. There's stuff that he had.
Yeah,
Um, so what we're doing is we're just kind of working it out and arranging it with Mick. And like one of them right now, we've kind of worked on a beginning bed of it, and then Kelly's going to sing it. Another one, we've tried a few different treatments. We haven't really settled on that. Um, there's another couple that are kind of in the same state. They're written.
yeah,
We just haven't decided exactly where to go. One of them needs a bridge, and things like that.
yeah, sure. Okay. Well, that's promising. That's
Very
good.
promising. Yeah, yeah.
So then, so let's go back again. So just before, obviously, everything was shut down last year, you released an album with another side project that you've got called Black Swan.
Yes, yes, yes.
So what's happened with that now then? Because obviously, I guess you were planning on touring the album, and
Well, I don't know how much of a tour. I mean, we would have loved to have done some shows if,
yeah,
I mean, and we had a lot of offers to do shows, which was very cool. The reaction to the record was real positive. So it would have been easy to go out and do shows, although it's always difficult for me because the foreigner schedule is so crazy. So, well, it was. um, but the plan for that is because we did get such a good response. Frontiers, the label, definitely wants to do another record. So, actually, Reb Beach, the guitar player for Black Swan, who plays with Whitesnake and Winger,
yeah,
um, Reb was actually gonna come out in January and we were gonna start writing, but then the pandemic was so bad in LA in January that we said no, let's wait. So I would guess maybe April he'll probably come out. So the plan is to start writing another record and to have a new one out in 22.
okay, that's promising.
Yeah.
You are constantly working with different musicians and on different projects. I mean, is that how? Because then you've done the George Lynch the album as well. The what's it called? Heavy Hitters.
Oh, there's that. Yep, yep. Yeah, actually, two projects with George. Heavy Hitters was the one that we did. It was cover songs.
Yeah.
It was really fun. And what was great about that is that was kind of the first thing we did when the pandemic took over. And George Lynch doesn't live far from me at all.
Okay.
Um, and we love to work together, obviously, but because of the pandemic, and especially at that point, that was the early days when lockdown and a lot of paranoia about it. So we figured a way to work remotely, and
Okay.
there's programs now. There's there's a thing called audio movers that allows me to hear George's studio monitors on mine.
Oh,
And it's not perfect by any means, but it's a lot better than nothing. And
that
so what we would do is we would hook up a Skype connection like this, so we could talk and show each other things. Couldn't play in sync together, that, which is a bummer.
yeah.
That was the one thing we missed. But we could do everything else. So we did all the tracking on the Heavy Hitters record like that, and that served as kind of a template for how we were going to do the next project we had, which is the End Machine, which is coming out April 9th.
Right.
First video is coming out February. Well, I think it comes out. I think they're announcing it tomorrow. Yeah, the
Are they?
25th.
Okay. 25th,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So the new M Machine record, which is called Phase 2, that's coming out April 9th. Video's about to come out. So um it really worked out well. The remote thing worked great for the M Machine then, and we were even able to write remotely, which was very cool.
That's fantastic. So the End Machine, that's the name of the new album.
No, that's the name of the band. The album is called Phase 2.
Phase 2, right? Okay. This is what I mean. You've got so many projects. It's fantastic. I mean, is this kind of what keeps the fire in your belly going?
Probably,
Yeah.
probably, yeah. I mean, I just love music. I really do, and I've got a wonderful studio. I really do. This is a dream come true for me. So, I like to take advantage of it. I mean, I have my slow moments too, but overall, I like to stay musically involved. And even when I'm not doing a specific project, I like to play. I like to write. I like to keep my hands going. Keep
Yeah.
keep it dirty.
So what are you like as a producer then? Because you are a musician, so you
Sure.
kind of I guess you can explain how you want something, but at the same time, maybe it's frustrating for you because they're not doing how you think it could. Maybe do you ever feel like you could do it better, or
Well, I suppose there's moments when everybody feels that way, but as a rule, I mean, I feel that you ask what kind of a producer I am. My feeling about production is that there are some producers that have their own signature sound and all that kind of thing,
yeah,
um, and I'm a huge fan of some of those. I mean, Mutt Lange was kind of the classic guy, and I loved Mutt Lange's work,
yeah,
but I see my role almost directly opposed to that. I see the role of the producer as being, I don't want to say invisible because it's okay to have things, but that the whole job of producing is to be the glue
yeah,
that brings all the artists' ideas to their best possible fruition
mhm,
and gets the best performances, that encourages a vibe in the studio that's inspiring and that makes everybody motivated and focused in the same direction. And that's what I see a producer doing. And I think I'm the type of producer that I really access the fanboy in me, and when I'm playing, I want to be a fan of what I'm hearing the artist that I'm working with doing. And because I kind of feel like I have a sense of that, I feel entitled to say, no, 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 try it like this or do this, when the time comes. Or that's great, keep going, whatever it takes to cheerlead a bit. Um, and trust my own instincts about what is a good performance and what's going to make a difference. And when the artist is at their best, and that's what
yeah.
I do.
So so again, getting back to that, you be playing all these instruments, you know how to produce, performing live, like how what's I mean, guess what is the evolution of the song like when it comes down to the writing, the arrangement, the performance? Like, how do you prefer to be creative in that sense?
Wow. Well, I don't have any one set way, that's for sure. Generally, my favorite thing to do, because I guess that's the easiest way to explain it, is I like it um, when a song is kind of put together, there's a structure to the song that gives a good start.
Yeah,
Then, to me, perhaps it starts off musically, just the musical bit. But then, to me, what's really important then is the lyrics and melodies coming in and making sure that they're right. I want something that is real and it's emotional and it's clever, and I want good stuff. And then I think you have to shape it around that. The structure of the lyric and melody is so important, and you have a lot of room to play with it in different ways. um, but what delivers that message, what delivers that melody in a way that really drives the point home? And I love that. That's my favorite part of producing, is the way that you incorporate elements into bringing out the best in a song. And so that's my preferred way, but it can be done in all sorts of ways. You get projects sometimes at various points of completion. Sometimes you get songs that kind of seem together, but there's something really wrong with them, and you need to do something to bring it together. So you can't really start from scratch, but you can kind of have a fresh approach to it. Put a new paint job on it. There is no set way, as I guess what I'm trying to say. But what does it take to make it so it gives me goosebumps? That's my goal.
Yeah. Yeah, God, it's kind of like a puzzle, isn't it, as well? I get the impression that when you're putting all these
A little
parts
bit.
together, so just
Hmm.
create this
Yeah,
perfect picture at the end.
it is. Yeah, it is a puzzle. It's a puzzle that um, you always want to be trying to make better. So there's also the ability to know when, okay, that's good, move on. There's that too. That's an important part of it, because I have so many times seen the energy just destroyed, in certain things, because the song gets overly picked apart, and now it's no longer an organic emotional piece. It's some science project, and that doesn't work either.
You mentioned Mutt Lang. I
Yeah.
think that's a
Although,
prime example of that.
yeah,
Like
although he's got a
really
pretty
good.
good ability to yes, he belabors things beyond, 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 but he's that rare genius who is so much a genius that it still comes at the end of the day. It's really great.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that.